One Beautiful Day by Elizabeth Stott. The Salters arrive as the November evening engulfs the provincial town. They park outside the Victorian Civic Hall as instructed by the secretary of the local music society. The Gothic ornament of the exterior, dark streaked by pollution, is just as the Salters expect, for they have seen many such venues in their years of touring the provinces. The brief period when their names appeared at Covent Garden still warms their hearts. At least it warms Mr. Salter's heart. He is often heard reminiscing about his Toreador, a part he took temporarily when the incumbent Escamillo had shingles. What would these provincial folk know anyway? Something from Madame Butterfly always goes down well, and they have costumes, much repaired, dating back to their time in grander productions. They are pleased to note that the accompanist is a respectable pianist from the nearby cathedral. But Renee Salter is not pleased that they are to be supported by a local soprano, a 20-year-old currently studying at the London School of Music on a scholarship. Aged 20, Renee Salter understudied Cho-Cho-san in a major production of Madame Butterfly and was widely regarded for her rich soprano voice. But her plain looks and pear-shaped silhouette did not equip her for the part of the glamorous heroine, and she had to resign herself to playing the parts of older women long before she became one herself. Maurice Salter, a man of rather blocky build, was once ruddily handsome, but is now merely ruddy. However, Maurice fails to acknowledge his faded glories in his dealings with younger women, often to his wife's public humiliation. The dressing room is dank and dim, but it is a designated dressing room and not a janitor's cupboard or a backstage toilet. Renee sits before the illuminated mirror to do her makeup. Half of the bulbs are broken and the glass is foxed. It seems an apt metaphor for the pair of them. Maurice takes a swig from his pre-performance tipple. Renee dabs concealer around her tired eyes. They are to meet the mayor for a reception before the performance. Renee wears a once expensive gold evening gown cut low over her meagre bosom. The effect of the tiara and diamante necklace is of an antique perfume bottle. Well, she's mended the seams of the dress and of her husband's evening jacket more than once. She hopes the lighting will be subdued and that Maurice will not drink too much. Renee seldom partakes of more than diluted fruit juice before a performance and eats nothing. Renee has seen a picture of the young soprano. She is all a 20-year-old should be, lush skin, with long glossy hair and a cleavage to get lost in. No doubt she can outmatch Renee in sheer lung power, but the local audience will not be capable of distinguishing Renee's technical superiority from the youngster's athletic gust. Moreover, she knows that Maurice will humiliate her again. More than once she has considered leaving him, but the future for her, alone, descending into retirement and old age, is more bleak than she can care to contemplate. But tonight she will sing Cho-Cho-San's aria, One Beautiful Day. Cho-Cho-San, of course, was little more than a child when she married the faithless Pinkerton in the story, even younger than the young soprano. The mayor's party is a usual blend of provincial social gamesmanship, lubricated with cheap wine and fortified by savoury nibbles served on paper plates. Maurice is soon up to his ruddy nose in alcohol and attempting to bury it in the well-exposed cleavage of the young soprano. A drove of paunchy, middle-aged men snuffles around her like a herd of pigs at a trough, and the silly girl seems to be enjoying the flattery. Renee is surrounded by the polyester-frocked ladies of the assorted local musical societies and feels, in her gold dress, like a battered museum specimen of exotic butterfly accidentally placed amongst a common organ. As usual, she eats nothing and drinks only mineral water, forgetting the missed lunch in the misery of the gathering. Not even the elderly men of the parish try to flirt with her these days. She has passed from vague allure to vaguely invisible as she approaches 60. With this miserable thought, she faints. The consequence is that she's told by a retired doctor to have a lie down, whilst the inebriated Maurice gets to sing duets with a plush soprano young enough to be his granddaughter. In the dismal dressing room, she tries to make herself comfortable on a bony chaise, and is given a cup of tea and some leftover nibbles by the pearl-buttoned woman assigned as her minder, who readily abandons her on Renee's assurance that she will be perfectly fine. The tea is cold, and she has no appetite for the orange, furry cheese things or the miserly pretzels. She should cry, but tears elude her. In the stage mirror, her face is shadowed, but there's no hiding her age, nor indeed her plain looks. She would have gone into teaching had not Maurice convinced her that they were destined to bring opera to the provinces, and that one day they would have their own television show. She realises now that he'd been jealous of her accomplishment, not wanting her to outshine him, even as the plain, pear-shaped older woman. Her voice had sold the tickets. Through the door she hears blurts of sound, Maurice's rough bassoon and the bright flute of the girl. She imagines him in his shiny evening suit and the garish red bow tie he had insisted on wearing as an eager but aged cockerel in a company of a new hen. The jubbing piano sends darts of sound through her head. Taking her coat and evening bag, Renee slips out of the back door of the hall into the drizzle of the street. She pauses at one of the posters. The photographs they used are old. It's a long time since they had professional ones taken. The girl's picture is clearly an amateur attempt, but she looks fresh and new, whereas she and Maurice are faded and outdated. Renee sees that they have missed one of the E's in her name. She's become Reen, unaccented. She finds a high street full of youngsters doing the pubs and clubs, the young women dressed skimpily with no shoes or coats, wearing platform shoes, teetering like Japanese geisha in getter sandals. Renee attacks glances in her gold evening gown, which swirls out from beyond her everyday coat. Some of the men comment, but good-naturedly. They are not yet drunk. One of them recognises her from the poster. The drizzle will have made her makeup run and her hair frizzy, but however, just being outside that grim hall and the burden of the lacklustre evening gives her energy. At the entrance to the pedestrian high street is a memorial of some kind, with steps leading to a modest monument with a canopy top. She climbs to the plinth and takes a throat pastille from her bag and assesses the location. She does some vocal exercises, judging the acoustics of the place. The canopy acts to focus the sound, allowing her voice to soar over the noise of traffic into the confined shopping street. Raindrops catch the lights like sparks, but it is a surprisingly mild night. A small audience gathers as she removes her coat. Renee welcomes them. She bows. She gives them some easy ballads to warm up her vocal cords. The crowd claps in approval. Her audience grows. Renee delivers some Gilbert and Sullivan and some songs from the West End musicals. Her audience claps and cheers. Renee can see their hopeful faces uplifted, full of anticipation. She moves on to Carmen's Habanera, a song of the vicissitudes of love, a song she has become long inured to as far as any personal vicissitudes are concerned. By now, the rain has stopped. Even the background traffic noise seems muted. Her voice surrounds them like a cocoon. They are part of the song. She flirts with them and they respond, animated. A young man pulls a red rose from a bunch he has tucked into a supermarket carrier bag. Renee blows him a kiss. An encore is demanded. She bows, raises her finger to her lips, and smiles demurely. She transforms before them from the defiant, flirtatious Carmen to the poignant cha-cha song, anticipating the return of her husband in the aria, One Beautiful Day. The audience is stunned, then bursts into applause. She is received into the arms of the crowd, who walk her back to the Civic Hall, buying her fish and chips on the way. By the time Maurice staggers to the dressing room, his red bow tie crooked, his nose ruddier and shinier, his ears ringing to the shrill notes of the young soprano, Renee is sound asleep in her damp evening gown. She is clutching the broken stem of a rose and smiling.